And this is why all these poor, stupid Greeks that have 100% of their assets in Greece, they're in big trouble now.
Greece, China, Puerto Rico, ISIS, Donald Trump. The world is going to hell in a handbasket, which means that Doug Casey is rubbing his hands with glee. Doug Casey is a crisis investor of long repute. He's been in the financial newsletter world. He's made more money than you can think of. He joins us here with Reason TV. Doug, thank you for joining us.
Well, my pleasure, Matt. I love being on Reason TV.
So how do we make money in the current global crisis such as it exists?
This is metaphysically impossible, actually. How can everything be overpriced? Because it's a relative thing. Overpriced relative to what? The stock markets all around the world are in near bubble territory. The bond markets are in super bubble territory of historic measure. Real estate is overpriced everywhere. So what can you buy? There's very little. What's happening with these stupid governments printing up trillions and trillions of new currency units, not just the Americans, the Chinese, the Japanese, the Europeans, and all kinds of little countries are doing the same thing. It's building up to a catastrophe of historic proportions.
Isn't there some argument that if everybody's doing it, it'll somehow be okay? Because that's the kind of equilibrium that we now have going forward?
No, au contraire. I live in Argentina, and they're quite used to these things. And when the Argentines cyclically destroy their currency, the Brazilians do the same thing, incidentally. It's a big problem in the country, but it's soluble because the people outside the country, the overseas Argentines and Brazilians that keep their money outside of the country, can bring it back in and rebuild, as can foreigners. But when this happens on a worldwide basis, which it's going to happen this time, there's nobody to bail you out. I think this is going to be much worse and much different than what happened in the 1930s. And right now, as we speak, in the middle of 2015, the economic clock on the wall, to me, seems like it's about the same time as it was in 2007, followed by 2008. Or, more appropriately, actually, we're at about the same time we would have been in 1929.
Is there any validity to a critique that, hey, look, these guys are always bearish, they're always claiming catastrophe, they're always saying buy gold, and etc.?
So true. If you're something of a perma-bear, you have to feel like that broken clock that's right twice a day, which is what you're saying. But most of the reading that I do is either ancient history or science and technology. And the United States has been going downhill since the McKinley regime. Now, technology has been getting better. But from a social point of view, from a philosophical point of view, we've been declining since then. And in actual economic terms, in terms of what the average guy is able to do, we've been going downhill since the mid-70s. And as any institution gets larger and older, it inevitably becomes corrupt and falls. This is why nothing lasts forever.
So, I mean, do we just bury gold with our bags of rice in a field somewhere? I mean, it's pretty dreary and apocalyptic. How do we respond as individuals to protect ourselves from that, or even make money off it?
I always look at the bright side of things, as you can tell.
Yeah.
And the bright side of a crisis is that it offers a lot of opportunity to profit. Right now, at $11.50, where gold is about, it's not as cheap as it was in 2001. But the situation is so much more dangerous now, it's probably just as good a value. But then when you buy your gold, where are you going to put it? Bury it in your backyard? I say put it in the safest place you can think of. And this is problematical, because what is the safest place you can think of? Safe deposit box? Probably not. I wouldn't keep significant capital in banks. Most of the banks in the world are bankrupt, just as the Greek banks are. Look, the average person is so brain dead. These Greeks left their money in Greek banks when it was possible, even a month ago, to ship it out to a Swiss or a German bank. Why do they do that? I don't know.
Before we leave, you have to tell me one cheerful thing.
Well, look, there is cause for optimism in the world. There are two mainsprings of human progress. One is science and technology, and there are more scientists and engineers alive today than have lived in all of previous history put together. The second thing is the average person intuitively understands he's got to produce more than he consumes and save the difference the way a squirrel puts away nuts in the fall against the winter. Well, I can't give you unalloyed good news. Let me throw a caution out there. It's that, the government might destroy all that capital, like all those Greeks that have squirreled their nuts away for many years. The nuts have vanished. It was in the form of euros in the bank, and the euros have disappeared and gone to money heaven, basically. That can happen here in the U.S. And going back, well, what about the scientists and engineers? They're going to still improve things. Yes, they can, but science in today's world is capital intensive. If that capital that was in banks disappears, then the scientists and engineers can't do what they're doing either. So maybe we'll have a new dark age. But on the other hand, maybe we'll have a cyclical recovery and we'll be able to buy assets cheaply.
Well, guard your nuts. Thank you very much, Doug Casey, for that cheery outlook on the world. For Reason TV, I am Matt Welch.